Okay. Clusters are fogging up. Brad, come on, class. They saw it. Can you
Contacts,
see them?
right?
Can you, no, yeah. Can
Oh.
you see them fogging up there?
Yeah.
I wanted to take them
You
off.
need some contacts.
I do have some.
Oh, okay. I got the LASIK when I was in college.
You
And it's
did?
been great. Oh yeah.
Wow.
It was kind of uncomfortable, but it's worked out pretty well.
I will now call to order our regular scheduled Apex Town Council meeting for Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Welcome to those who have joined us live stream. I would also like to remind you, if you're here to speak tonight for public forum or public hearing, please come to my right and complete the appropriate sheet to be able to speak tonight in that process. So, also, if you need an agenda, there is one outside to my left when you step out of the door. We'll start the meet tonight with an invocation. The town of Apex values and celebrates diversity and inclusion. We see diversity as strength that binds our community together. Inviting members from different faith communities to deliver an invocation at the beginning of our council meetings supports this unity. Recognizing that not everyone practices the same traditions, we welcome you to have a private moment of silence during this time. And I would like to call on Mallory Harris from Felton Grove Baptist Church to deliver our invocation tonight. So Mallory, if you would come up. If you want to stand right there from the mic. You turn the microphone around. Can you help us out? Okay. Yes.
Lord, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for blessing us with our many blessings. God, we thank you for letting us have another day and another life for opportunity. And God, every problem we hit, we know you will be there with us inside the problem, and you are the opportunity inside it. God, we thank you for blessing us with the many ways of gifts. And the problems we have is hiding the fact that it's a blessing. We thank you for blessing us with roofs over our heads and clothes on our backs and food on our tables. We thank you for letting us come here today, and we thank you for letting us have the opportunity to bless people who might not even have half of what we have. Because the life you give us is a miracle, and we thank you so much for blessing us with it. God, if I got to see you one time, I would be so grateful to know that I would be with you every step of the way. And to know that the people here are blessed enough to hear, see, smell, and have all five senses intact with them, which many people don't have. It's a blessing. Jesus, we thank you for everything. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good job, Mallory. Thank you so much. All right. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And thank you for coming out tonight. Welcome. We'll go ahead and get started with our presentations for tonight. And the first presentation tonight, we have Think Apex Awards. Very exciting. We got some champions in the house, so this is great. So Mayor Pro Tem Nicole Dozier will lead us in that, and we'll move along. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
How's everyone this evening?
Excellent, excellent.
So, welcome to the 2020 Think Apex Award Ceremony. Many of you may know, and some of you may not, that I created Think Apex back in 2014 as an initiative to encourage local businesses and people to have a mindset about our local businesses, but then wanted to move beyond that and think about what community really means here, not just our residents, but our visitors, other stakeholders who just love Apex like we do. So the awards recognizes local businesses, individuals, and nonprofit organizations for their dedicated service to others and to the community as a whole. Nominations were received through a public process online, and winners were selected by a group of Think Apex Award recipients for the past 2 years. So at this time, I'm going to recognize all of this year's nominees. And as we know, because of the coronavirus, things are done a lot differently. And so I think you've already been instructed on what we'll do as we announce the winners. But for those watching, I just wanted to say thank you for those who made nominations and for those who are at home that are watching. So the nominees for the individual or group category are Doris Battle, Garrett Razek, Hector Koalas, Ivy Jones, Paul Stam, Stephen West, Sukaritha Marugu, and Tina Sherman. So if we want to give them a round of applause. Thank you. The nominees for the business category are Apex Fencing Academy, Avalon Peaks Apartments, Common Grounds Coffee House and Desserts, Fresh Local Ice Cream, Jenny Midgley Photography, Lake Pine Animal Hospital, Utica Bakery. So we can give them a round of applause. And finally, the nominees for the nonprofit category are Apex Chamber of Commerce and Apex Public School Foundation. All right, now I'm going to recognize the top thinker and the honorable mention for each category. So when I announce your name, please come forward, do get your award, and we're also going to do a quick photo. I believe there will be some photos outside. It won't be as dated. We won't have your mask. And I will not be accompanying you for that photo, unfortunately. All right. So for the individual or group category, this individual rezoned 1.7 acres for an affordable housing subdivision. It is the first single-family detached development project as a whole which was committed to affordable housing. This individual and his partners assembled properties, designed the streets and lots, contacted Habitat for Humanity of Wake County, and collaborated with Apex elected officials to support the affordable housing project. This project will be completed as individual homeownership, not a rental community, for affordable or workforce housing options. The honorable mention award in this individual category goes to Hector Koalas. So you want to tell him where it is again? You're going to be right over here, Mr. Koala, right over here?
I'm going to do that.
Oh, got you, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So Max on, okay.
Grab the award, yeah.
Okay.
You're perfect,
I'll present you with this award. Think Apex Hector Koalas Honorable Mention Individual 2020. This is all you. Thank you so much.
Put them on.
Right in the middle of the picture.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oops, be careful. Okay. The top thinker in this category is known for acts of service showing compassion and selflessness. He was given a variety of bicycles of all ages, types, sizes, and conditions, but none were rideable. Using fixing, tinkering, and replacing parts to fix these bikes was his after-work routine for months. He was able to turn around and donate 26 bicycles back into the community. He continues his act of kindness up to this day and is always going above and beyond for his clients and the community. The Top Thinker Award in the individual category goes to Stephen West. All right, Stephen West, Top Thinker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move into the business category. Not sure why I have that. Oh, wow. Now for the business category. This business is known as Community Gathering Spot because of the warm atmosphere. Knitting groups, faith groups, study groups, business clients, and individuals that are new to the community and want to make new friends meet here because the owners have open arms for everyone in this community. They are a large part of drawing the town community together and a central meeting place of our downtown Apex. The honorable mention in the business category goes to Common Grounds Coffee House and Dessert. All right. Bring us some stuff. Oh no, honorable mention 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. The Top Thinker in this category is a business that provides an opportunity for kids and adults to participate in an Olympic sport in a fun, low-pressure environment. The sport also allows children of any size or athletic ability to excel. It is a new way to be active, to stay fit, or compete, or simply just learn something new. Their programs allow fencers to grow and develop at their own pace. They promote good sportsmanship and encourage their fencers to help each other to improve, which is obvious the minute you step in the door. The Top Thinker Award in the business category goes to Apex Fencing Academy. Thank you so much for coming. Apex Fencing Business 2020. Step in there sometime now. Thank you so much. Now we're going to move into the nonprofit category. This nonprofit organization is constantly attempting to bring businesses together for the betterment of our community. From business after hours to ribbon cuttings and lunch and learns, they make business owners and their employees feel involved and form business connections here in Apex. This organization also administers community events, Teacher of the Year, First Responders Brunch, Book Bag Bonanza, as well as forums to keep the community involved and up to date on current events. The honorable mention in the nonprofit category is Apex Chamber of Commerce. That's right. That's right. Y'all can hold it together. How's that? Honorable mention, nonprofit 2020. Hey,
I'm smiling.
for some
too.
reason. I know. I know it's hard.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My heart's
All right. The Top Thinker in this category is a nonprofit organization who created a foundation to assist our Apex schools. They do so with additional funds for students and teachers. The requests for funds and supplies for our children's classrooms are constant. This volunteer-run nonprofit establishment raised enough money to provide a grant application process to local Apex schools to ensure funds to all of our Wake County Public School System schools with an Apex mailing address got what they needed as much as they could. The Top Thinker in the nonprofit category is Apex Public School Foundation. Thank you, thank you. Your heart is in school education too, so that's you, 2020. Congratulations. Thank you. So before I go back and take my seat, I just want to thank you all for coming. This has been my pleasure to do different things. I did the Think Apex Day of Service, these awards, and other things that we had planned. And this year it looks a little bit different, but we're still moving on and people are still helping their neighbors, and so that's what's important to me. So I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for doing your acts of service and kindness. For those of you watching who are nominated, and for those who took the time to nominate during this time of crisis, we just appreciate you very much and look forward to doing this differently next year. So thank you so much, and I appreciate what you do every day. Oh, I forgot to mention my council, the mayor and my council colleagues. Typically we come down and do it all together, so thank you all for being supportive. I apologize for that, and the staff that helps us do this every day.
All right. Congratulations to all. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Dozier. Excellent presentation. And what started in 2014 continues on today. It's great.
Thank you.
Despite COVID, we still get it done. And our amazing staff, Joanna Helms, for helping out
I'm sorry, thank you for doing that, yeah.
All right, we'll move to our next presentation. Ann Harrison, Simple Gifts Community Garden. If you would come up.
Good evening. I'm Ann Harrison. Oh, maybe I should take this off, huh? I don't know, are we far enough away? My name is Ann Harrison, and this is my friend Sandra Webb, and we want to thank Mayor Gilbert for inviting us to speak to you tonight about Simple Gifts Community Garden. I'm curious, how many of you know about our garden or have seen it, maybe? Oh, good. Well, we're maybe not as much of a secret as we thought. Wanted to tell you a little bit about how we got started. We had a social justice ministry called the Micah Ministry at Apex United Methodist Church, and for a couple of years we did a lot of information flyers to our church members about social justice issues. And at one point we got to the point where we decided we wanted to move more from information to action. And so we started thinking about, well, you know, what do we really want to take on? Which topic do we want to tackle first? And the thing that kept sticking in my head is my father, who's a retired Methodist minister, always told me that his family never had a lot of money growing up. They ate meat as a special occasion on Sundays. His father worked in a hosiery mill all of his life, and they put themselves, my father and my uncle, through college. But he said the one thing that they never were concerned about was going hungry, because they grew their own food. And that's something that we used to do more, and we don't do as much these days as we used to. But the thing is, I'm not sure as many people know how to do that as used to. People maybe don't have land, or they don't know how much they can grow in a small amount of land. So we decided that that was the thing we wanted to tackle. Community gardens were becoming a thing of interest in 2008 when we started talking about this. And so we started looking around for land. And if many of you know where Apex United Methodist is, you know we don't have any extra land. But we do have Jean Hack, which was our ace in the hole. Probably a lot of you knew Jean Hack. She served, I think, on the Planning and Zoning Board for more than 15 years here in Apex, and her family were longtime integral parts of this town, I believe. So when I went to see Jean and asked her about this, of course, if you know Jean, she was all enthusiastic. She promised us that we could basically do anything we wanted to on her land for as long as she was alive. And the only feedback I think I ever got from her is, why don't you plant more? So in the spring of 2009, we broke ground. We started with 2 rows, I think 50 feet long the first day that we opened. And over the years, we expanded, we built more rows. We doubled the size of the garden one year. We have some things planted outside. We have apple tree and some fig bushes and things like that. Neglected to mention, I hope all of you can see it, we have some pictures, because a picture's worth 1,000 words, so if you haven't seen it, they're just sort of scrolling. We also have a pollinator garden that was a Girl Scout project, and all sorts of things that we added over the years. It also probably won't surprise you that one of the magical things about the town of Apex is when you do something, even if you don't know 100% what you're doing, people come out of the woodwork who do, and they're very generous with their time. So people helped us set up an irrigation system, put in plumbing, electricity, build a shed. Our AOSP kids built us a shed the second spring that we were open. So basically this is the way it works. If you come to the garden and your family wants to join, it's $15 a year for your whole family to join. And any day that you come and work, you can take home part of the produce. We decided we never wanted to be accountants, so we don't measure it out. We ask everyone who comes to be mindful of how many people are there, and the fact that every garden day that we're open, a portion of that produce goes to, I think we're up to 5 local food banks that we support on a rotational basis. And that's really one of our major, one of the most important things to us is to make sure that we get fresh organic produce in the hands of people who are food insecure. So if you come on a regular work day, there's a garden leader who can help you with information about what to do, and you take a portion of that produce home. We start in March, and we plant all the way through, we harvest all the way through Thanksgiving. So we plant spring, summer, and fall gardens. And one of the beauties of it, I think, is once you join, even though we only harvest the vegetables and the fruits on the days that we're all together, you can come anytime you want and have a picnic, or dump your compost, which is the lifeblood of our garden, or pick flowers or herbs, or just enjoy nature. So I'm going to turn it over to Sandra for some other points.
Thank you all for having us today. I think it's really fitting for us to be here on the night that you're doing the Think Awards. I appreciate what you're saying, Mayor Pro Tem, about community and neighbors, because that's really what we're all about too. And so especially happy to be here and see how other people are contributing to this community. So when you think about a garden, you may think food first. My first thought goes to that perfect juicy tomato that you slice, and you have it between a couple of slices of soft bread and slathered with Duke's mayonnaise. Must be Duke's. I'm a good Southern girl, and that's what we gotta have. And food, food is our lifeblood. It's an essential for us, and while it is of utmost importance at the garden, it's only one dimension of what we're doing there, but we'll start by talking about the food. So as Ann said, we've been committed to growing food organically, and that's really important to us because we're making sure that we are not causing harm to the earth. We're taking care of creation and not adding chemicals to it. We practice natural methods of pest control and using natural things for fertilizer. So we ensure that the food that's coming out of the ground is safe for people to consume, that it doesn't absorb chemicals from the soil, and also that it's safe for our pollinators, because we do have beehives. Ann is our resident beekeeper and graciously shares her knowledge with anyone that's interested. I love what Ann was saying about her father not fearing for being hungry. My childhood was much the same way. I grew up in a very poor community, and we didn't know we were poor because everybody else was in the same boat as us. But we grew our own food, and my mother canned things, and being able to do that for yourself is very empowering to people, and they have learned a lot from us. In the 12 years that we have been in production, we have donated over 20,000 pounds of food to the food pantries that Ann was mentioning. We partner with Western Wake Crisis Ministry, St. Mary AME Church Food Pantry, the Point Church Food Pantry, Holly Springs Food Cupboard, and the Fuquay-Varina Emergency Food Pantry. They've been great partners to us to take what we have and get it to the people who are in need. So, as part of growing food, we are creating these educational opportunities for people. We learn about the importance of the pollinators in food production, the importance of nourishing the soil using compost to amend our beds. We have these wonderful compost bins that one of the local Eagle Scouts or Boy Scouts created for his Eagle Project for us. And that allows us to partner with Panera and Lowe's Foods to take their coffee grounds and their produce cast-offs to make this beautiful, rich soil that the earthworms just thrive in, so that our food can grow. Learning where the food comes from is really important to give us a glimpse into what the value that farmers bring to us. And that's especially important, I think, in this state because agriculture is still an important part of our economy here. So I mentioned that food is one dimension of the garden, but perhaps equally important is that community aspect of it too. We're very proud of what we've done in terms of meeting people's need, people that are hungry, but we're also equally important to how we're growing community in this space. Everybody's welcome at the garden. Every single person that comes is welcome there. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, what your country of origin is, what your sexual orientation is, what your faith tradition is, whether you even have a faith tradition. Every single person who comes there is welcomed, respected, and valued. I do want to mention that we are aligned with our church, Apex United Methodist, and most of us that go there claim the Christian faith. But there is not a bit of proselytizing that happens in that space because that's not what we're about there. If you have been out to the garden, you may have seen our shed and you may have seen a picture of it here with some of the quotes on it. It's a sign of inclusion for us. We have quotes from Buddha, from Pope Francis, from the Prophet Muhammad, from all different traditions. One of my favorites is Pope Francis. It says, "You pray for the hungry, then you feed them." That's how prayer works. And I think that's so fitting that you have to take action. You know, it's all well and good to pray for people and to pray for solutions to problems, but when the rubber hits the road, it's up to us to do something about it. And community is not just a word for us, it really is something that we live out day in and day out. It creates opportunities in this space for us to come alongside people that we might not interact with otherwise, but to find out that we're not that different, that we all have similar needs, similar desires. In addition to donating food, we also do things like taking flowers to nursing homes to share a little bit of love to people there too. We've been really blessed that we've had a lot of groups who have come in, many times for work days. We've had groups from Thales Academy, aka Sorority Sisters, have come out multiple times. Noah's Ark Day Camp comes and visits us and has work days and learns about what it means to grow things. We've had individuals come out who need to do service hours for school, for clubs, for sometimes for court-mandated service. Oftentimes they leave once they've done their duty, but sometimes something resonates with them and they'll stick with us. And we love having them come alongside us. So we create family in this community just by digging in the dirt with each other. We talk about dirt therapy and how that's really good for us. It means a lot to us. But just like you nurture a garden, you've got to nurture the community too. In years when we're not dealing with COVID-19, we do things like have a tomato sandwich supper, or we share a watermelon after a work day. We've had to put that on pause this year. But we do try to make sure that we are staying connected with one another. We practice no-guilt gardening. We trust that people are going to do what they can when they can. And if their circumstances change, we do not put any guilt on anybody's shoulders. I experienced that personally last year. I had to step away for about a year while I tended to my parents out of town. Nobody ever made me feel guilty about not being part of it. And when I could come back, I'm welcomed. This is what family looks like. And our family there is is broad, it's very diverse. It's Chef Kabui from Kenya who stops by periodically with his children and brings us seeds from his home country and talks to us about different crops that we can grow, broadens our horizons. It's our beloved friend Ganga who stopped by one day to ask about cutting flowers for a Hindu flower festival. He ended up joining the garden and staying with us for several years until he passed away in the past year. He would bring food that his wife cooked and share his culture with us. Again, this is about community. We've had a family this year who benefited from the food that we donated to Western Wake Crisis Ministry. They've joined the garden this year, and they're happy to have this chance to pay it forward now from something they benefited from. Most of us have never really known what scarcity is. I mentioned that I grew up in a very poor community, but I really didn't know what scarcity was. We always had food on the table due to the hard work of my parents. You know, when COVID struck and people are having anxiety about toilet paper and think that that's scarcity, I had to roll my eyes at that because certainly it is not. But we all know, though, that in this very rich country of ours, in this rich state of ours, and even in this rich community of ours, there are people tonight that are going to go to bed hungry. And that breaks my heart, and I'm sure it does yours too, because there is absolutely no reason that that should happen. There is plenty for everyone to have. So we know that the work that we are doing in the garden really is sacred work. We're feeding people. I always go back to Jesus said, "I was hungry and you fed me." That's where I think many of us are motivated from. But creating that community, that's also sacred work. None of us is an island in and of ourselves, and I think the pandemic has caused us all to take a breath and step back and look beyond ourselves a little bit and see what can we do to serve other people. And we're hoping and praying that that's going to stick once we get back to some state of normal again, because the world just works a lot better when everybody does their part. And so we are trying to do our part at the community garden, and as things change, we hope that we can continue to be there for a long time and meet this need for the community, and hope perhaps that you all will find ways that you can partner with us to help support that effort. And with that, I'll turn it back to my friend Dan.
So you may be wondering if there's another reason other than just for your information that I approached the mayor about letting you know what's going on with our garden. Probably most of you know, if ever there was going to be a party thrown in heaven, it would be on the day that Jean Hack went back to Jesus, and that was Easter Sunday this year. She promised us that we could do anything we wanted for 12 years, and she kept her promise. But our future is uncertain. Personally, what we think, and I know we're biased, but you have a beautiful piece of land right there. It's just a few miles from here. It's very central to Apex. It's right on 55, so it's one of the first things people see as they're coming into the town. It has a pre-Civil War home on it, so that's our history. It has a functioning, vibrant community garden, a beautiful ecosystem with geese and ducks, and unfortunately, occasionally, some beaver. It's got a beautiful pond that would be great for kids' fishing tournaments and things like that. Personally, we think it would make a great park. So we would just like to tell you that we believe that the quality of life for the residents of Apex there would be a lot to be gained by saving what's there now, much more so than anything that would be built on top of blacktop. Thank you. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask.
Any questions for presenters? Anything?
Thank you for your time.
Amazing presentation. Thank you so much for coming out.
If you all would indulge me for 30 seconds more, though, there's just one other thing I'd like to add, and that's just to acknowledge the work that Anne has done. She has really been the driving force for our garden for 12 years now. And when it became obvious that COVID was not going to be a tiny little blip on the radar, she got to work right away and figured out how can we do this and continue growing the garden in a safe way that would still stay in compliant with all the state requirements. And so lesser people would have just thrown their hands up and said, we're not going to do this this year, we're going to take a year off. But she's not a lesser person. She is just a remarkable human being who has great vision, has a big heart, and has courage to execute. And so I'm just so honored to be here with her and to partner with her. But I just wanted to recognize her because she's a wonderful person.
Give her a round of applause. And I will say I had the opportunity to go out to the garden. I got invited by Ann, and the pictures doesn't serve us well tonight. It's a beautiful garden. She didn't put a rake in my hand at all. And I was surprised you didn't bring me a tomato sandwich tonight, but it's okay, next time. But thank you for coming to present tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to our consent agenda. All consent agenda items are considered routine to be enacted by one motion with the adoption of the consent agenda and without discussion. If a council member requests discussion of an item, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
All right, motion by Council Member Killingsworth, second by Council Member Stallings. All right, discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, we now move to setting of a regular meeting agenda. And I do have knowledge of one add-on tonight. Be closed session item number 2, possible motion to go into closed session to discuss the location of a business or industry in the town of Apex. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right, motion by
Oh.
Councilmember Gant.
Gant.
And second by,
Dozier.
all right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, it passed unanimously. We have a set agenda. All right, we now move to our public forum. Do we have anybody sign up tonight? None. Okay. All right. Great. We'll close public forum and move on to public hearings. And the first presenter tonight for public hearing number 1 is Diane Ken. And this is annexation number 695 into the town corporate limits.
One second. Just to wipe things up. All right, so. Oh. All right, so this annexation is on Tenjon Road, which is kind of in the middle of town. The property is at the end of Casena Lane. It is actually the project that Mr. Koalas was recognized for today. It is the Phase 6 of Perry Hills. And so they need to annex in order to get their approval of their construction plans. And so staff does recommend approval of the annexation.
Thank you. Any questions?
I noticed there, I couldn't tell from the size of the map, there's a little sliver thing in there. Is that part already annexed in the middle and it's just kind of connecting the things? Or is that separate, or it's kind of awkward?
I believe it's right of way.
Okay.
Yep, so I think the full annexation, it must be annexed already, the way it's shown.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an access at one point.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Ken? All right. I'll go ahead and open up public hearing for this item. All right. No one has signed up. I'll close public hearing and refer the matter to council for possible motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Dozier.
All right. Motion approved, Dozier. Second, Councilmember Killingsworth. All right. Any discussion on it? All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That passed unanimously. Move now to new business 1. All right, possible motion to waive $4,700 civil penalty that was assessed to Center Street Pharmacy property owner on March 19, 2020. Here presenting tonight is Mike Deaton. give us more information on that. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Mike Deaton, Water Resources Director. Tonight before you, as the mayor said, a possible motion to consider waiving a $4,700 civil penalty that was assessed to the Center Street Pharmacy property located at 1701 Center Street, Apex. This civil penalty assessment was given to the property owner on March 19th, 2020. The property owner failed to submit an annual inspection report for its on-site stormwater control measure. Having stormwater control measures on an annual basis is required in accordance with UDO section 6.1.12 I1. This particular SEM, it's a bioretention cell, and its due date is every November. The first inspection report was required back in 2009, and it's been due annually ever since that time. Over the past 11 years, none of the SCM inspection reports were submitted in a timely manner. Since then, 7 NOVs, notice of violations, have been issued. Staff has worked with the property owner to remind them of their obligation, follow-up correspondence with owners and inspectors and the contractors to do repairs. And so those NOVs and that correspondence was the basis for that civil penalty assessment. The property owner has stated hardships such as loss of rental income and associated accrual of taxes, as well as utility bills on the subject property, has made this civil penalty assessment difficult to pay. The owner states that the SCM is now in compliance and gives assurance that he will not miss future inspection deadlines. Property owner is here in attendance tonight. Dr. Raj Palavaram is in attendance, and he's available to answer any questions that you may have, as well as I will, and further explain his request for the waiver. So at this time,
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
I can take any questions that you may have, or we can let Dr. Raj speak.
All right, if you could step up, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the council. I'm Raj Palavaram. I've been resident of North Carolina for the last 23 years. I've been in the United States for the last 32 years. And yes, I graduated in New Jersey, but I love this state. I moved here about 25 years ago. So I've been a practicing physician in Apex and as well as in Cary. So I'm part of the property owner on 1701 Center Street. And unfortunately, that property has been a sore spot for us, actually. Couldn't get it rented, couldn't have the business to be done and all that, but despite that, we remain compliant with paying our taxes on due dates, and also whatever needs to be done, we have been going on with that despite not able to get any income from that property there. With all that being said, that we had this inspection for bioretention pond that was due for November. In fact, we had an inspector who comes and does that inspection. In fact, he has completed the inspection. It was compliant as of October 31st. There are one more property owner in that. He lives outside the country. One of my family members, my parent, has been sick, so I've been away for some time, and he was supposed to probably pay and take care of that. Looks like he paid only his portion. I didn't pay the portion. The fee is only about $400, $350 or something. He paid only 50% of it, and 50% has not been paid. So though the inspection was done and it was compliant, and inspection report was there, and as of October 31st, which was compliant, the inspector has not submitted that report, actually, which I'm not aware of it. I had to come back after taking care of my ailing mother. And so I came back and looked at it, and then I went ahead and paid my portion, and he sent that. So that's what's happened there. So again, as I said, it's not my intention to not be compliant with that. Despite having hardships with that property, we've been trying to do what is needed for that. And I request respected mayor and the council members to waive for this occasion. We'll try to be compliant in future going forward with that actually.
Can you help me understand what procedures you might put in place so that this doesn't happen again?
So I will end up in paying myself. I would not rely on the other property owner. Most of the issues have been coming because of the other property owner who lives outside the country. And so that's where the issue was happening in there. He's not been happy because the property is not making money. And a lot of hardships going on between the two partners. And in fact, a lot of times I had to pay the entire mortgage and the interest and everything on me. Because end of the day, I'll be dragged into this. I've been a citizen, he's a citizen, that it all comes on to my credit history. Been a close friend of mine, but unfortunately, because the property didn't make the money, so he's not been happy. And if he doesn't pay, I have to come up and pay. So that's what's happening. It's such a sore story for me, actually. And for last 18, 19 years, I've been paying all along, actually. So going on with that.
So I guess my question is, 2009, it's a long time ago, and so it just, it seems like the town has been pretty lenient with you related to this, when I think about that.
Yes.
So I guess, I want to think about there could be other businesses or either other people who struggle to pay,
Yes,
and then they have to pay, or.
It was the same issue.
So, so I guess my question would be, that is a long time, and was there any consideration for a payment plan, a very flexible payment plan for this? That's my first question. And then the other question is, you ended your comments with saying you were going to try to be compliant in the future, and trying and doing it is a little bit. So I just want to, in this moment, make sure that we treat you equitably to someone else who would do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a question of trying. I will be compliant with the thing, because with this thing, and I've spoken to him and I told him that no matter what, that I would not be relying on him. I will end up in doing myself, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you answer the question about, did you consider a payment plan?
Given all the issues, what we happened, actually, we've been such a hardship for that, actually paying that, being an empty building, paying the taxes and having issue with the other partner, actually. It has been a very tough time. Had to close down our offices, have been having tough time to pay our employees and all that. This has been a big hit for us. Again, as I said, it is not the question of not being compliant with that. The situation has turned out to be like that. So that's why I'm requesting for a waiver on this fee, kindly.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Mr. Deaton. So you just heard the property owner say that the SEM report's been submitted. Is that your understanding as well? Have you received that report, and can you verify that the property is in compliance and the SEM's operating properly at this moment in time?
Yeah, we have received that report, and the report passed. The consultant that was hired has indicated that it has passed its inspection. So.
What's involved with one of these inspections, and how much does it tend to cost?
The inspection process requires a North Carolina professional to conduct the inspection, a professional engineer, landscape architect, land surveyor. They are, by statute, allowed to conduct that annual inspection requirement, and this requirement is also part of our National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, our NPDES permit, which we're federally mandated to require. But the cost to do that, to hire the engineer, surveyor, architect, generally, depending on who you pick, is pretty accurate. $400 to $600 is generally what we've been seeing. Of course, we don't hear how much it actually costs. We just receive the report and indicate that they're passed, and they're due again next year at the same time.
Mr. Deaton, right before you step away, could you help me understand how many of these penalties do we typically assess in a year?
This is the first civil penalty we've assessed for stormwater control measure annual inspection reports. We do that on occasion with erosion control through our erosion control ordinance, but this would be the first one levied as a failure to submit the annual inspection report.
I see.
We do from time to time have people who do not meet the submittal time, and they will get an NOV. Generally, when they receive that NOV, we get that report. It works pretty well. Unfortunately, this case, it did not, and it's been ongoing since 2009.
Does this $4,700 represent, I guess, 11 years of penalties?
No, that represents, the UDO allows $100 per day per violation to accrue.
I see, so.
And
10
at
years.
that time, it was 47 days had accrued.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry?
That particular thing, I was not even aware of that.
Yeah, the NOV does.
2009 something, I'm not even aware of that. I thought it's all from this year.
Yeah.
Mr. Deaton, can you tell us what he's saying?
Yeah, he's thinking the civil penalty was accruing from 2009, and that's not the case. It's accruing from I believe the date of the NOV letter that was sent out in March, I believe.
Of this year,
Yeah.
right? For 47 days, right?
Correct, yeah. The civil penalty was on March 19th. The NOV was, I don't have that date, but it was 47 days at that point, had been 47 days.
And I have a question for Drew, or perhaps the town attorney. Do we have the option of reducing but not eliminating the penalty?
Yes, you can reduce it, or you can waive it, or you can have it stand as is.
Thank you.
Just have a question. How responsive was he to us as far as, communication throughout the process?
Property owner's pretty tough to get in touch with, I'm sure. He's very busy.
The other
It's,
partner is outside the country.
we had a phone number and we had email addresses. We utilized both of those. The facility was vacant. We tried to knock on the doors. There's nobody there. And I believe personally he may live in Cary, and so that's where the NOVs and civil penalties were sent to.
Because for months I was away taking care of the ailing mother. That's what is at the lab gap has come for a couple of months actually. So that's what's happened. As soon as I came back, I took care of it actually.
I understand this year, and I'm very sorry for your ailing mother's situation and your family matter, and it's been a very difficult year for so many people because of COVID and the pandemic. My concern is the history, of this has been going on for 11 years. That's where my concern is.
I agree with that, and then I look at, even the civil penalty payment was due April 24th. We're in September 1st, so, even what happened based on, how did this get missed? Why weren't we looking at this in a May council meeting? So I want to be fair, but I want to be equitable, and so, if we do something for someone, I want to make sure that it's equitable, that it makes sense based on the story. And so I don't think that, in my opinion, I think we need to talk more about other options.
Every time I had a partner who is outside the country, he's supposed to manage half and I'm supposed to manage half. Every time that he's outside the country, I had a problem. He said he will take care of it, he couldn't take care of it. Again, it all went into this issue there. So everything came out of this problem. That having another partner who's not been responsible and saying actually. So everything is falling back.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have any suggestions for other options when you were?
I'm willing to listen to our other colleagues here, but I do agree with what both of you are already saying. I feel like the town has been very bent over backwards, and just throughout 11 years, even assessing the penalty back in April. I mean, we just look at the history, what's going on here, and I don't know if this is something that we could do for every business in this way, and if we would do it, and if we would, then that's fine. But if we wouldn't, then I think I agree that I'm okay with reducing this amount, but it needs to make sense of what are we reducing it to, and what's the time frame for that. I'm willing to hear what other people have to say about it, but I'm troubled. I don't know what the difference is going forward. Why this wouldn't just keep happening. I don't understand it.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I agree that the history of noncompliance here is perplexing. Why did it take 11 years to get to this point? What happened? I understand there's some hardship now, and you've experienced hardship, and that's unfortunate. I'm also concerned that if this is the first time we've tried to issue this penalty and we immediately waive it, it kind of takes a little bit of the enforcement action, a little bit of the kind of the stick away from us. What's to compel someone else in the future to be timely with their SEM reports? If they look at this meeting and they see that over the course of 11 years, it's got an infallible report and we just waived it for them, it went on like business as normal. So I don't think I'd be in favor of a complete waiving of the fees. However, I do want to point out, I mean, the point of these fees is to compel compliance. And as we discussed earlier, at the moment, the property owner is in compliance. So assessing a large fee doesn't really seem to accomplish much except give us a little more money, which isn't really the goal of this fee. So I'm happy to see that we're in compliance at this point. I also recognize that we're in a very difficult financial time for a lot of people, and that I think makes me sympathetic to trying to help you out and get back to a place where you're making rent and business is happening, and this isn't going to push it towards bankruptcy or anything. So I would like to have at least some penalty associated that would need to be paid to settle this. This is my preference.
Anyone else?
I think I agree. Having this many years of this same problem happening is concerning, and there is no guarantee that this won't become another issue next year, and so on. So I agree with reducing the amount of the civil penalty, possibly doing a payment plan or something like that for this. But I do agree that there does need to be some sort of penalty happening here, especially with this many years of noncompliance.
I think it sets a bad precedent. I'm not going to support waiving it, even at a reached amount. Sorry. I think we need to have our rules and be able to force them. I think a payment plan's fine, but I think whatever the amount that's owed should be what's paid.
Any other comments? Is there a motion? There you go.
I'll make a motion. I move that we offer to reduce the fee to $1,500.
I'll second that.
All right, so we got a motion by Councilmember Mahaffey, second by Councilmember Killisworth.
Councilmember Haffey, is there a reason you came up with that? Where did that number come from? Because that's what I was trying to figure out, like, what's the number?
It is semi-arbitrary. I mean, we're discussing kind of at the moment, but I was looking for a number which was large enough to still feel like a penalty, but not so large as to feel, as to potentially cause permanent harm. So it's something that I feel is payable to still feel like a penalty, but also recognize the economic situation everyone's in, and to be show a little bit of flexibility on our part.
I mean, I'm okay with bringing the amount down, but I want to sort of have the reason why, what that amount. So I don't know if there's a way to, if there is majority agreement in assessing a lower fee, over a period of time. But if we can then get more, have staff kind of direct us on, like, 'cause I can't do it in my head. I just can't figure this out in my head, like what we're doing. But I think it needs to make sense about the amount,
So you recommend staff to provide some guidance on it?
Yeah, I think if I would offer a friendly amendment to your motion to direct staff to sort of give us some more guidance around what a reasonable reduction would be, what it represents, so the gentleman knows what he's actually paying for and why. And then do you accept that friendly amendment?
So are you asking to not reduce the penalty tonight and instead have staff recommend some framework for us to use to determine?
I'm okay with recommending that staff come back with an amount that is less than this amount. But because I don't know how we're arriving at it. Like, is it that we're gonna say, well, I just don't know how to, since it's about the calendar days, are we gonna just reduce the calendar days or something? But that needs to be an amount that's associated with that action, I think.
Is there,
Unless you wanna.
Manager Drew, do you have anything to offer?
Obviously, our ordinances don't contemplate anything other than it's up to $100 a day, correct, Mr. Deaton? So $30 a day at $47 for 47 days is $1,410. But then $30 is arbitrary as $30 a day is as arbitrary as $1,500 for the whole period. So it's hard to, on the fly here, try to come up with something that's not arbitrary, and even when we go back to our offices and try to think this through, something that's not arbitrary and not following how we would handle similar situations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the manager is mentioning possible similar situations, so while it may be hard, I would feel more comfortable with having staff come up with something in case there is a similar situation than us just picking a number.
I would agree with that, Mayor Pro Tem, because I think we need to have some type of criteria and thought process, because if this happens again, it gives us some precedent to rely on.
I mean, like for this year, we can pull the COVID-19 lens to this. This is what we're doing because of COVID-19, but for the previous years, really can't, so I think that's what that would be my friendly amendment to your motion.
Sure. It sounds like a majority of the council feels that way.
Okay.
All right.
There's not majority support for my motion. So.
Sure. Yes.
As I said, looking at the whole situation, as I said, I had a partner who lives outside the country. All the problems have come in with the situation, what you're mentioning there for the previous years. So with everything what has happened now I've taken over the entire responsibility on me. That's why I'm saying that this will be the last. So if you give me one chance, if I default on one more time, you can go back and put the whole penalty on me. I'll be happy to pay that, because it'll be on me. The onus is on me actually there. With everything what's happened with the other partner being outside the country, he's a physician. He works in Jamaica, West Indies. He's not here. He comes and goes there. So with these things have happened there, then I told him that this is what it is. No matter what, I'm going to probably take over and do that. That's why I'm requesting that one time. I'm here today, that's why I came in person, that if I do that, one more time, you can put the whole penalty back. I'll be happy to pay. You can record it, and I'll pay the entire amount actually. Yeah, you don't even have to waive on that.
Well, my concern is I'm a healthcare provider myself, and I'm a small business owner, and I have a business partner. And, this is about business decisions and managing businesses. And again, my sympathies to you for this year, because it's not about this year, it's about the history of 11 years that I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Having two partners, for partner being an absent partner there, and property not being rented, actually not making income, and trying to make allegations on the one that I'm here. It's the regular business partnership issues that was going on there. And that's why I came to a conclusion this year, and I took over entire responsibility on me, not leaving anything on there, so there won't be any more issues. So since it's in my control, but we are now moving on, I said I would be able to do that if I'm non-compliant, which is the onus is on me. Yeah. So that's all, I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you. All right, so we have an amendment to the motion for redirect to staff, assign to staff to come back with a reduced civil penalty amount. Is that right?
So, let me ask this question. So the current UDO says up to $100 may be assessed. We assessed $100. Perhaps one way to interpret what we're hearing here is to get some more clarity on a more concrete schedule of fees, maybe for first offense versus second offense versus whatever. Maybe that could be a way that we could then point to the resolve the situation. What are you saying?
I'm saying I'm not, whatever, whatever staff can come back with, that is something that if it happens again, that they can go back to and say, okay, this is what we're doing in this situation, and that it makes sense when we're speaking to someone, and you know, we explain to people in the public, or you know, they're watching, like this is a number that has been arrived, and here's how we arrive at this number. And I mean, I have been in situations where, for a few times, where people have come related to a project, and it's related to business and interactions and things, and it's really hard for us to get into the weeds of people's business interactions and relationships. And I don't think that I don't think that's my role, to get involved in those kinds of things. My role is, I think, to get involved, making sure the policy is more clear. When we're asking to do something opposite outside the policy, either we stick to the policy or we figure out how it makes it more clear. And in this moment, I'm okay with pulling that lens through that and thinking it through. But since 2009, it's kind of an issue for me.
So I oppose the waiving because of the bad precedent setting. I also think our rules seem to be pretty crystal clear right now, and then we're not following them. So I think we're muddling things by doing this, personally. So that's a concern of mine in this conversation.
I understand.
I understand too.
Now, I would just say again that the purpose of the fines is to compel compliance, and we have compliance here. But we've met the goal. That's the primary goal, right? And if we can show a little compassion, I mean.
Yeah, I'm all about compassion, but I also want to ensure that every single person that stands in front of us that wants us to waive something for them, that we can do the same thing time after time after time. Whether it's a business owner, or whether it's a private individual, I want to be able to show that we're being equitable according to the situation. And so, I mean, like I said, what happened in April? It's like we're here as September 1st, when this was due back. I mean, you know. So I just want to do things, make sure that we can do things for everyone's in a similar situation.
Councilmember Mahaffey, anything?
I have no other comments now.
All right, so we do have the motion, and we had a second as well. Any further discussion? Okay. All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no?
No.
All right, that passes unanimously, 4-1. Excuse me, I'm sorry, it passes 4-1. All right, thank you.
Ask one other question to the town manager. Or Mr. Deaton, the letter that you sent indicates this would be heard before the Board of Adjustment, but this is here before us. So there's a little inconsistency. I'm just curious about process-wise. Why is it before the town council and the Board of Adjustment?
Not exactly sure. That's the way the letters have always been. But I think once this came up with the contestment, I don't know if the UDO changed or the statutes. Laurie, I don't know if you can chime in, but
It's so the Board of Adjustment hears the violation. So if someone is contesting that there is a violation, they do that at the Board of Adjustment. In this case, the violation is not being contested. The only body that can waive a fee is this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deaton.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, new business 2, possible motion to approve extension of a ground lease agreement and an option to purchase agreement with Jack One LLC regarding the Cash Corporate Center Economic Development Site. Director Joanna Helms.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, sorry, this bracelet makes a lot of noise. I'm gonna take it off so it doesn't keep clanging on the, I always forget I shouldn't wear that to a town council meeting. So Cash Corporate Center, I just wanted to start with the map to make sure we all know where we are and what we're talking about. So this is our Cash Corporate Center, 121-acre site, just south there of Pinnacle Business Park, and close to the intersection of 55 and US Highway 1. The town of Apex entered into a development agreement with the property owner on this site in December of 2017. I know that was before some of your times. I think Ms. Dozier was the only one that was actually present during that initiative. Since that time, the site has become a North Carolina certified site, and we have reached all the required milestones for pre-development as prescribed in that development agreement. As an addendum to the development agreement, the memo of lease describes an initial term of 3 years with the ability to extend the lease for 3 more consecutive 3-year terms for a total timetable of 12 years that this agreement could run through. This was intentional and necessary because, as we all know, economic development projects can take years to come to fruition, and a 121-acre site could also take years to develop out fully. So we really want to give ourselves plenty of time to really develop that site as we can take it to the highest and best use. The memo of lease states that if the town wishes to extend the lease beyond the initial term, we must give the owners a 90-day notice. The initial term expires December 14th, 2020, so therefore we would need to notify the owners by September 14th, 2020 of our intent. It is my recommendation as your Economic Development Director that we stay the course and extend the lease. As the Cash site is really our only marketable industrial site that is shovel-ready in the town of Apex, and it has drawn a lot of interest and activity. So I just wanted to throw up this slide talking about activity and interest. This just gives you a snapshot of the current year and the previous 2 years, the amount of projects and the types that we have seen inquire about this site. Now, these are projects that are actually come to us from either the state or the county. These are bona fide projects that are looking in this market and that are going to make an investment somewhere. So these aren't just, tire kickers or, a what-ifs, if you will. These are bona fide projects that are looking in this market. You can see there in 2018, we had 18 total projects, manufacturing, R&D, distribution, life sciences. In 2019, 17 total. And then so far in 2020, 16. Now, what this does not show you is this does not include all the national site location consultant inquiries that we work with constantly. Our partners across the nation that do this on behalf of companies. So this does not include site location consultant inquiries. It does also not include local inquiries from local businesses, maybe just in this general region. If that were the case, then the total amount of interest and activity would be well over 100. And we've got data to track that. Right now, as we stand here today, we have 3 very active projects looking at Cash Corporate Center, and any one of those could come to fruition any day. So we're very excited about that. In addition to these projects I just mentioned, we've had 14 developers and/or investors that have expressed an interest in purchasing the entire site and thus becoming our new partner in the development agreement. There is a provision in the agreement that the property could be reassigned to a new owner, if you will. The development agreement would still be intact, but we've had over 14 parties, groups, developers, look at purchasing the entire site and then working with us with that development agreement as well. A few of those inquiries are now in a due diligence stage in a decision-making process. So again, very exciting times. In summary, This site continues to do what we expected. It's drawing interest from businesses looking to locate in this market. It's providing Apex a place at the table in response to those projects. And it's legitimizing Apex as a world-class option for job growth and capital investment. I will stop there, and I'll be glad to address any questions you might have.
So we're basically being asked to notify the current owner of executing our option to extend our lease and option to buy.
Correct.
Okay.
Which was the intent from the very beginning.
What happens in 3 years, I guess, when the...
Same.
Same thing?
Yes,
Can we
yes, sir.
extend that indefinitely?
We'll consider it again in 3 years.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
At what point do we consider whether just to buy it?
We do have, there are, what's the word I'm looking for? We do have requirements to buy down a certain percentage of the property every year starting in year 3. So that will happen this December.
Is the price already agreed to and fixed, or is it just?
Correct.
Okay.
And we've already budgeted for that for this year, sir.
All right.
So we've had a lot of inquiries here, but do we have a definite project that's going in there?
There's not one that has been executed, hasn't executed purchase, no. But we have 3 that we've come, the closest we've come right now before us.
Okay.
Related to those who have come, who have not decided to, do you have any feedback for us from them?
Yeah, sure. A lot of the projects, particularly the ones that come to us from the state level, a lot of those projects just didn't locate in North Carolina. They ended up going to other states for a variety of reasons. Some of them, the projects themselves didn't materialize. They were going to make an expansion or going to do a relocation, and then something changed in their corporate structure, and the project just decided not to make that next move. A couple of them have been, the site was just a little bit too raw for them. They really were looking for a site that, had already had curb and gutter and lights and all the, bells and whistles of a fully developed park. Just needs that first one, and we'll get those things done. So a variety of reasons, nothing fatal, no fatal reasons for a company not locating, just it's very competitive.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And this slide I didn't bother to show you because it's not complete. I was trying to show the number of acreage. And you can see the acreage from 10 to 20 to 20 to 30, 30 to 50. What doesn't show up here is a scale of those and the quantity of those inquiries. So sorry, this slide is half cooked.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion Gant, second. Mahaffey. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, that passes unanimously. We'll move now to closed session. Possible motion to go to closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.1183 to consult with the town attorney concerning the handling of the matter of Torres versus Tracy Lynn Carter et al. And then closed session item number 2, possible motion to go into closed session to discuss the location of a business or industry in the town of Apex.
I make a motion that we go into closed session. Stallings.
Stallings.
All right, motion Stallings.
I'll do second.
Second, Mayor Pro Tem Dozier. All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, passed unanimously.
We go straight up, or is there a little break in between?
Yeah, we can take a 10-minute if y'all need to go real quick.
Okay, sure.
All right.
Come back down here to gather up.
Yes, we'll come back together.
Last time, you needed more water, so you got mine, I have this.
You guys are coming back here, right?
Yes.
Okay, step up here.
Say what?
So days like that, lock it, do the closed session, and then drop the camera.
And then find out, oh, there was another camera. Yeah, I know. Oh, be on her bad side about some pens now.
Three, yeah. Yes.
Economic development one first?
What's that?
Could we do the economic
Yes.
development one
Yes.
first?
Does that help staff?
Oh, it helps Joanne.
No, we're not doing
Not
that. No. Yeah, Lori actually said it.
Yeah. See, Lori needs to be there for both of them anyway, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
So normally, what you use, Charles can use, public and out of building. You do everything you, yeah, you don't. They'll walk around.
Right, one down, one good.
Thank you.
You going up, Sean?
Yep.
Okay.
There are some.
get out the door. I want to change your mind. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
This is very light.
Oh, okay, I was just looking at it.
Yeah, it's very light. It's just very light. Just, I got a few things that was easier to put in a box and try to carry separately.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Exactly.
It was weird, but I think it's happening right there.
Yeah, we weren't sure we were gonna have it and all, so, yep.
Yeah, I'm glad the awards were still done.
Oh, yeah, thanks, we weren't sure what we were gonna do.
All right, I'll officially adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks,